everybody. Welcome to It May Interest You to Know. Tony Marcolini, joined with my co-host Seamus McDonough, and a very special guest is with us today. Her name's Samantha Jones. She is, I like to call her the improv queen. She has her own improv studio, which we're going to get into, but she's also an actress and a director, and you've seen her on a ton of projects that I hope she's going to talk to us about today as well. So welcome, Samantha.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Welcome, Samantha.
Thanks, Seamus. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Let's go way back to the beginning of your career. Are you trained in improv?
Yeah, I studied acting. I was trained in acting for about 10 years. And in there, improv jumped in when I was in college. So that's when I studied improv.
And from there, I think you started doing some stand-up comedian stuff. Am I right?
Yes.
I remember first coming to know who you were as a stand-up comic.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's my mother forced me to do stand-up. It was, I had no plan. I was like, I'd started studying acting when I was 14. I went to performing arts high school in the city, and it was all very serious and method and all of these things. And then I went to college and I continued studying, and then I started getting into comedy and hosting shows and doing improv and things like this. And then I graduated, and my mother was like, well, there's a comedy club around the corner, so get to work. And I guess she thought those were the same thing. And so I was like, stand up, what am I doing? So she made me do it. And I went, and there was a funniest college kid competition and at Stand Up New York. And I went, and I was like, well, I guess I'll sign up for this. So I signed up, and I'm doing the show with like this guy who I was friends with. I went to junior high school and high school with him, and I always had a crush on him. And he was in the show too, and I hadn't seen him since high school. And it was just this kind of like weird nervousness that came on top of the stand-up, like that I'd never done before. So, he was there. I think it was his first time doing stand-up. It was my first time doing stand-up. And he ended up winning the competition, and I came in second.
Did it bond you? Did it bond you?
No, it did. I don't know. I think he remembers it. I mostly remember it because it was just so horrific. Stand-up is something that always scared me to death. And because of that, I did it for 15 years until I could figure out how to get good at it. And once I figured that out, then I stopped doing it. I was like, that's enough.
Now, you've done, before I get into the acting, you've actually trained other people to do improv successfully.
Yes. Yeah.
D.L. Hughley, am I right? Didn't you do a little something with D.L. Hughley?
Oh, I did. You're right. I forgot about that. Yeah. I helped him a little bit adapt to, he was doing a talk show format for CNN. And, kind of like adapting from being a stand-up comedian into being like an interviewer and getting comfortable with that format. And we used some improv in that for the pilot of that show, which was great. Yeah.
Now, can you explain to the audience who maybe doesn't truly get what improv is? Because it's an art form unto itself. Can you give your best definition?
Sure. In terms of improv, the way we know it today in the world and television and comedy, it's basically just playing. And it's playing games that are structured around scene work. So, we would get some of the games have rules, some of the games don't have any rules, but there are certain rules to playing in general that are always true, like saying yes to everything in a scene. You never say no, you avoid arguments, any conflict, you just are constantly saying yes. And just that alone is comedic. And often people think you have to be funny to do improv, and it turns out you don't. It's absurd anyway, so you don't have to make it funny or even be a funny person to do it. It's just a sort of a natural way of being that we forget about when we become adults.
And totally unscripted.
Totally unscripted. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes though, in the business, you know, you think you watch something on television or you see something live that you think is fully improvised. And sometimes it's not, you know, sometimes there's callbacks. I can tell because I've been teaching it for 30 years now and doing it for so long. I can tell if things have been done before, whereas other people wouldn't be able to tell. So when I teach, my whole thing is always keeping it really unscripted, really unplanned, and being 100% present in the moment all of the time. So you can't even think ahead in the scene.
Wow.
Yeah, like
That would be hard.
no planning at all.
Well, I'm an attorney, as you know, and for me, it's all about the planning. Right. So for me, it's all about the planning. I mean, even when you're going to question a witness, it's all about being, you know, 1,000 steps ahead of, you know, I'm asking questions and I'm intending to lure you to point, you know, B, right? I'm intending to get you to say something. So for me, it's all about planning out, you know, what's going to happen next. And that, I think that's such a weird feeling to be in a situation where I'm just going to be present in the moment. I'm not going to think ahead. I'm not going to have a motivation to where I'm taking us in my brain. I think that would be really hard.
Yeah, well, it's hard, but it's also your intuition, right? Which I'm sure serves you in your field. So what you do is you end up fully relying on your intuition, fully relying on your senses, so that it's sort of just like a bag of tools that people don't use all of the time or sometimes ever anymore. So when you get to do it, you know, it's kind of a gift, and it makes you even more, for planning work or non-planning work, you're more sensitive.
Ooh, I think we lost Seamus.
I see him. There's a hand up.
Sorry.
Oh, there we go.
So that cuts out manipulation.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. What's interesting though, I mean, like if I'm teaching, for example, I can get up in a scene to show an example to the students, let's say, and I'm doing a scene with somebody, and I can now direct and teach while performing, if that makes any sense, because I can manipulate a scene because I know how to do it, you know, and I know how to make someone, you know, like if I'm doing a scene with somebody and I say, you know, pass the carrots, and then they say, well, I don't have any carrots, and I just say, yes, you do. Right? And then they go, oh, yes, I do. You know, so there are ways to manipulate when you're teaching, you know, just to remind people of certain techniques. But once they fully let go of any kind of planning, it's remarkable what comes up.
Wow.
I mean, we've got like bags of gold of our whole lives, all of our life experiences that are just sort of waiting for their 15 minutes of fame or whatever it is. And improv really gives you that opportunity to dig that stuff up.
That makes me nervous.
Good. It should. It should. You should always be a little afraid, right, Tony?
Yeah.
In life?
I guess. I think stage fright makes you the best that you can be. I think that's true. I can remember times where I had the most stage fright, but right before I let's say I would start questioning a witness that I had to get, right? I mean, I had to lead them someplace, or I was just going to go down in flames, and I knew what I wanted to get out of that person. And I would get a little stage fright before I began, because it truly was all about getting them there.
Of course.
Right? It's like Tom Cruise in the movie when they're like, if you don't think you can get him, you know, when he's going to question Jack Nicholson, then don't go there. And it was all about going for it when you know you can get the person. And I remember having like stage fright. That little stage fright made me even better.
Yes, of course, being a little bit afraid. And then also, like, this is why I was terrible at stand-up for so long. It's because it was so planned. Not that, I mean, as an actor, of course it's planned. I have a script. In stand-up, you kind of write your own script. Or in my case, I would like memorize these jokes, and I had this wall between me and the audience. So I was too rehearsed. But when you're being a lawyer, I would imagine that just your personality, just your little ways, your cutiness and all your things can come to play, and that works as well, besides what you're saying, right?
Oh,
Like a whole
absolutely.
package.
Well,
Yeah.
when you're questioning somebody too, I would get to know, absorb myself in what that person's character was by talking to other people, in advance who knew the person. So you knew what their trigger points were going to be, and, whether they were self-absorbed, what kind of character they have, what buttons you could push to get what you wanted out of them, how they would be perceived by a question you would ask, and then how they would answer that.
Ooh, I
So
like
all of that.
and that's why you're a writer.
Can I say, Samantha, you have blown my mind with that, what you just revealed to us. Blown my.
Did?
Yes.
Seamus, have you ever done improv?
Never.
Well, Seamus is a retired boxer. He fought Holyfield, and really rose to the top of his game. And since then, he's been doing a little bit of acting too.
Oh, that's great. Now, Seamus, when you were boxing, isn't there improv involved?
Yes, it's all improv, I guess, in boxing.
Yes,
Yeah.
It is. It's all right, because you don't know what the hell's going to happen ever, right?
Ever.
Right. You just have to hope that you have enough skills to be able to rise to the challenge, right?
But the ones who succeed, who do the best, are the ones who are rehearsed the most.
Yes. Or yeah, right. Like your muscles are rehearsed the most, exercised the most, and you know how to do this jab and that jab, right? So that's how when I'm working with anybody in any field, improv applies to all of it, because it's really about exercising your instrument so that you know how to listen, you know how to receive, you know how to see, you know how to react quickly. And then whatever comes at you, it doesn't matter. And that's the same with improv.
But do you think we can control reactions?
You mean manipulate other people?
Yeah. I mean,
You're into that, aren't you?
Control our
We're all beginning to worry about
You're talking about hypnosis. Can we manipulate? Okay, to ask me again the question, what do you mean? Give me a scenario.
Well, do you think we can control our reactions? Someone who we have history with comes along, says something that bothers me. Can I control my reaction or not? I guess I can, in some degree, not overreact, but I'm personally, it's called overreaction because it's basically, I can't control it.
Well, then probably you're just not trained to react differently. Right? In that scenario, Tony, wouldn't you say he needs to meditate?
Yeah, he meditates all the time, actually.
Well, that's good. So then
meditating.
So maybe you need to practice it a bit more, so that, because isn't the goal of meditating to be non-reactive in scenarios?
The goal of meditation is to empty your brain completely of everything so you don't react.
Right, so but it is mind control, correct?
Yeah, well, again, in essence it is, but it's about being able to respond, being more now, so you can respond to now rather than react based on the past.
Being present, right? Being present, being in this moment, right? So then if someone comes along and you're at a family holiday and there's old Uncle Larry who drives you crazy, you are able to draw upon that meditative state where you're present in the moment, where you're dealing with only the moment and not how Uncle Larry punched your Aunt Griselda last Christmas. You're present. You're dealing with Larry in this moment. So you're able to react to what in fact is happening now. Whereas I think what you're describing is almost like, I've got this long history with you. Oh no, here's my ex. I can't deal with it, and now there's a whole barrel of baggage coming with just my interaction with this person. Yeah.
I guess it is managing my reactions, huh? Wow.
Well, yeah, or managing your presence, making sure you're present. Make sure you're here. If you're here and someone's coming up to you and they're going to knock you in the schnoz, then you react as you should, right? But if someone just comes up and is like, "How you doing, Seamus?" you know,
Yeah.
just take that for what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that.
Wow.
So I also you worked if we could talk about one or two more people you trained, and then I want to get into some of your acting experiences and your present school for improv. I worked with Missy Pyle. Didn't you train her as well?
Well, Missy and I worked on developing a one-woman show, which is another
Oh.
piece of what I do. I did 4 solo shows over the years. And at some point, people started asking me to help them do it. And I was like, why are you asking me? What do I know? But it turns out I know a lot. And so I would say Missy and I worked together on she writes a lot of music, a lot of original music. And then we would work on the storytelling pieces that went in between. So we could do improvisational, like prompts, things I would give her that would get her writing and pull out certain elements of her storytelling for the in-between stuff of her show, which was really fun. I mean, I use improv kind of in everything I do when I'm coaching people. So yeah, in theory, but she wasn't in my improv class. It was one-on-one.
Yeah, you actually have a whole school dedicated to improv now, right? Hudson Valley.
Hudson Valley Improv. Yeah, right. So when I was
Tell
teaching
us.
in the city, so I taught in the city for, I don't know, however long it was, 24 years or something. And then I was reunited with an old flame from college, and I moved up into the woods 90 minutes outside of the city. And I was like, well, that's the end of improv. And it was the middle of winter, and we live in an old farmhouse. And I was like, well, no one's going to want to do it here. And bit by bit, as I started meeting people, it turned out people did want to do it. And just organically, to meet what it was people wanted to do around here, it ended up being an improv studio. So we have classes. It's all pretty much adults. That's always been who I've taught and who I've liked to teach. Not that I don't like kids, but I love adults are the most uncomfortable with themselves.
Yeah.
So it's mostly adult classes, and then we do live shows when it's not COVID. Though we might be starting doing that again soon. And yeah, so we have that. And now my partner teaches too, and he's all into it. And we have a house team, and they've been improvising all through COVID on Zoom, which was astounding to me because I was like, listen, guys, if you don't want to do this, I understand. And they were like, no, we really need to do it. And every week they have met for the last year and a half online, creating original games and doing online shows. So people keep wanting to do it, you know, so I keep doing it, which is great. So that's it. HudsonValleyImprov.com. That's
No,
it,
that's
baby.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Seamus, were you trying to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. You're improving. I like that.
I love it. I love it.
So I know that COVID really did impact all businesses. I mean, you were able to take it to this new format, and literally you still were able to do it via Zoom, all right? Is that right? I mean, that's pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, I really didn't think it was going to be fun at all. And so what I did was I took some other people's improv classes in other formats, other schools, other people were trying to figure things out on Zoom, and it was great. It was fine. But for me, it's such an intuitive process to do improv and to teach improv. I wanted to make sure the connection was there. And it turns out it worked. And I taught my first class online, and it was powerful, and everybody was, you know, red in the face and sweaty at the end, which is all I want. And everybody, you know, goes to sleep afterwards with their beds right next to them, which was very nice, you know. But that was a process of me sort of experimenting with it. And we started to look at the Zoom box as a prompt. So in our games, we would start doing things like, you know, passing things from box to box. Like I have a pen, and I go like this to you, and then all of a sudden you pick up a pen in your picture. And so we started to play around with what can you do rather than, you know, what can't we do? And that's been really nice because, you know, you can do it anywhere. So it's been fun.
Mm.
Okay.
Wow.
So you've also done, did you say, am I imagining it? Are you trying to talk?
I mistakenly raised my hand again. Sorry.
You're killing me, Seamus.
I was trying to follow on what Samantha was saying about the games. I had this hand come in from the side.
Yeah, right. Yes. Yes.
Doing a bit of
Oh my God.
improv.
So funny. Yes. Yes. Zoom's actually, you know, they've come up with a lot of things that you can really play with, you know, like all the backgrounds, and you can put mustaches on your face now and
Sure.
a beard. Have you guys done that? I mean, that's
No, we shy away from that here.
Oh, why? Oh, you'd be great with a mustache, Tony. Just like a
Yeah,
little
thank you.
evil mustache.
Yeah,
not?
that could be a look.
Great.
Sure.
And it moves with your face. It's great.
Some crazy backgrounds. Make sure you make like we're in France and
Yes,
yeah, I like
yes,
that.
yes. I love that. I'm like, oh, I wonder who was thinking of that. Maybe an improviser put that together on.
I used to
Zoom.
torture my goddaughter and say like, "Hey, we're gonna have English day," you know, and the whole day we have to talk with an English accent, right?
Oh,
And-
that's great.
yeah, and she didn't think so.
Oh, really? I would think she'd love it, or maybe she couldn't do it.
No, she could do it. She just found me annoying at that age. But-
Oh no, how heartbreaking.
but it'd be like everything be like, would you like a spot of tea? You know, and I wanted to go throughout the whole day like that. And she'd be like, stop.
Oh no.
Stop.
I'd be
Tell
like,
you-
you stop.
I tried so hard to stay the whole time in my cat. Eventually she broke me down.
Oh no.
But we should go back to doing that here, Seamus and I. We should pick like somebody and like we'll do the whole interview with like
You
French
totally
accents
should do
or-
We should. We should.
Yes, you absolutely should. You should
I like-
absolutely make all of your people you're interviewing completely confused and uncomfortable and see what comes out of them.
Perplexed but intrigued.
Yes, exactly. Seamus, I love your accent so much. Isn't that nice you have that? Your accent's so great.
Hey, Shirley, what about you? That's not even my accent. My accent is, I have this mixed, I've been here 30 years in this country. So I have the Irish and English, not in the English, the Irish and the Irish American or the Irish in America accent now, whatever that is.
Well, it sounds Irish.
That, but I've been told, but yeah, I'm gonna believe you, Samantha.
Yeah, it sounds so good. I love it. It's like one of my favorite dialects. I love it. So
Oh, Kenny, the story is.
It's so good. So
It's
good.
just there, you know.
So Samantha, talk to us about some of your acting experiences. I know you were in the pilot for Bull and you were
Yes.
brilliant. You were brilliant.
Thanks. Oh, thank you. I love that. It was really fun.
Yeah,
It was
you
great.
yeah, you played this character who was the head of the jury. Very hard woman to read, which I thought really brings the whole show together, right? It was really about understanding who's sitting on your jury and being able to
Yeah. Well, especially for you, you must have loved that. I mean, for me, it was a whole process. I've never been picked for a jury. As soon as I tell them I'm an actor, they're like, you're dismissed.
Don't feel bad. No one wants me either.
Oh,
As soon as
I'm
I-
sure.
As soon as I say I'm a lawyer, I'm dismissed as well.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
And
So that
tell them
whole
what-
thing was interesting.
What'd you say, Seamus?
Sorry. I tell them I'm a boxer and they say, they don't want.
Is that true?
Yeah. No, it's not even remotely true.
Right,
You knew I was
exactly.
lying. You knew I was lying.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that was a whole pretty interesting premise. I thought that you would have a fake jury that you practice on and then the real jury.
Well, there's so much to it. As I was saying earlier, when anytime you're looking for a particular outcome, you have to know who your audience is. So you want to pick an audience that's going to be most sympathetic to your position. So going into ahead of time, you're looking for more women, older women, younger women, men, professionals, blue collar. You kind of have a profile already in place as to who you think will be the most, empathetic to your position. Especially if you have a bad position going in. All right. Especially if, the average person isn't going to be empathetic to your client's story. So you may need to go around picking people who you will get a break in the armor with.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And so then I was playing this character that was viewed as sort of the queen of the jury. Like everybody was going to listen to her. Which I thought
there's always one.
There is?
Yeah, there's always one dominant person. Oftentimes, sometimes you get a few, and that's how you get hung juries. With everybody arguing in the back, no one will give in.
Right.
Usually there's a queen bee or a king bee.
Yeah. There's a lot of psychology that goes into it, I suppose.
Yeah, and you just did a brilliant job, I thought, of bringing that to life on Bull.
Oh, thank you. Well, it was interesting. Rodrigo Garcia was the director on that, and he was just so great. Such a good, and also Michael Weatherly is like heaven to work with, and so aware of the experience of everyone on set, not just himself, which I was really appreciative of, because that was probably 10 days of shooting and a lot of, time in between as they set up and all these different things. And he sat in the room with the jury, hanging out in between and talking and being normal. And they had to do, there was one moment where they needed to do all of my reaction shots to like 4 different things that happened in the jury, violent things or upsetting things. So, I had to do like, okay, now we're here in the script. And his stand-in was going to come in and be my eye line, but he came up to me and said, I'm going to stay here for you for this. And it was great. I was like, oh, that's really good and professional. And I appreciate that. And it makes it easier, So that was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
And you just recently you did Dr. Death, right, on Peacock?
Yes. Yeah. I just did a day on that. And that was really great. Working there with those guys. I mean, TV is such a well-oiled machine. I think that was one of the biggest things that was such a surprise to me, going from theater and comedy to television, is it's just, you're basically walking in, get out your costume, you go to set, hi, nice to meet you, do your scene, and you go home. That's it. Unless you're like a regular on the show and you're there for, whatever, forever. It's just a very well-oiled machine. So you don't have a lot of time to connect with people the way I did on Bull. But it's been good, because it's where you get a lot of your experience, those one day in and outs,
I have to ask about working with Brian Dennehy, right? You had
that's a great story. I got a good one for that. I only worked with him. So it was like a day of shooting, and I played his daughter, and he was just really kind, and his knees really hurt from football and just told a lot of great stories. And we were between shooting one of the scenes. We were doing a few takes, and there was a break there, and I was standing and waiting, and he's like, you should sit down. Someone needs to get you a seat. And I was like, no, I'm fine. And so then we did the scene again, and then we were waiting again. He's like, I can't stand it. And he said, the director, get her a chair. And I was like, oh, okay. So they got me a chair, and I sat down, and he leaned over and he said, there's a little Hollywood for you. Such a great moment. I was like, yep. It's so nice. He was so great. And the director was great. I mean, it was just really funny. But I'm so glad I got to do his last movie with him.
Yeah. I love him. A great actor. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think like it would have been some opportunity to have even met him. I would have loved to have even met him, but to work with him, I mean, that's gotta be.
Oh my God. Well, I didn't even know. I'd auditioned for it, and then I booked it, and then I found out he was in it. Everything's always a secret, you don't know anything until the last moment. So then when I was like, what? And kind of it was perfect casting, because I sort of looked like I could be Brian Dennehy's daughter. Nice. So yeah, that was great.
And you've done other stuff. I mean, a lot of other stuff. I mean, Blacklist, Law and Order,
Mhm.
TV. I mean, you've done a ton. Do you have
Yeah.
do you have a most memorable moment on any TV show that you've done? Like, this is the moment that'll be with me forever.
Well, okay. So my first thing I did was head of the jury again on Law and Order SVU, and Mariska Hargitay was directing. And so I had, 2 lines, which was the verdict or whatever, our decision as the jury. And sometimes when you have less lines, it's worse. And you sort of obsess over these lines until it's your turn to speak, And so 2 lines, and first of all, I'll say Mariska Hargitay is great. She really understands actors because she is an actor. And then she has great sympathy. And then at the same time, she's directing, and she'll go up and say something to, one of the big stars that's doing something. And then she's like, okay, you got that? Okay, great. All right. And she puts on her jacket and she's like, action. And then she sits down and she's in character because she's in the scene too. And I just thought, oh boy, that's some improv to be able to like go into director head and then be her character, in the courtroom, like instant, I mean, she said to the camera guy, she's like, do you see from my waist up? You just see this? You just see this? Because she was costumed from her waist up and not her, like she was wearing jeans, you know what I mean? So I loved that. That was very memorable. But then it got to be my turn to say my line, and they have me stand and I have to say, we find that, the plaintiff guilty or whatever I said. And the camera, the camera's going like this while I'm doing it. And I completely forgot my lines. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot my lines. And Mariska Hargitay stands up in the courtroom and she goes, I knew you were going to be trouble. She was totally kidding. But it was like, I was so horrified. And she was so funny. And she laughed, I laughed, and then I relaxed, and then it was fine. But that was just, because like I said, it's in and out. So it's nice when you have these moments. Like,
I love that.
I'll never forget that. It's really nice.
I raised my hand again. I had a similar thing. I had something like that happen on my first lead in an off-Broadway play, which was a long time ago. And I was the boxer. I played a boxer in a play called Kid Shamrock by Bobby Cassidy. And I'm on stage, and my girlfriend at the time was in the front row, of course, or in front of the stage. And I forgot my line, and she knew my line. And she goes, and the line came back to me, and the line was, there I was laying on the canvas.
Oh, she went like this, like you lay down. Oh my God.
Exactly how I felt. I felt like I was laying on the canvas right there.
Did she run lines with you? Was she the one who you were running lines with? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
it's
my friend
crazy.
Carrie. Yeah.
What a great story. What a good girlfriend.
Yes, great.
Oh my gosh. But you broke up, I guess.
Yes.
Which is a total different story.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right.
That ends completely differently.
Yes.
Well, you did also at Carnegie Hall. Didn't you do Artists for the Cure? You were involved with that.
Yes. And that was a long time ago. Boy, Tony, you're really digging back. That was, what did I do?
Did.
Oh, I know what that was.
It's like a bad episode of This Is Your Life.
Yes, I know. I'm like, what was I doing then? That was back right around 9/11, right before 9/11 happened, because I was producing for a company back then.
Dora May, right? You were doing Dora May productions?
No, it wasn't Dora May. It was a different company they produced Wigstock and a bunch of big concert things. And I was there doing introductions for a bunch of celebrities. But that wasn't improv.
No, but you donated your time for that,
Yeah.
You got involved with that. That's pretty
Yeah. Well, of course, as you go, and particularly in New York City, there's so much opportunity to help or get involved, or, there's so many things going on all the time. It's always good to do as much as you can, and you step in when you can, and it's great.
Samantha, we're out of time, but I love you. You have
And-
to come back.
And I love you too.
I love you both. I'd love to come back anytime.
You must come back because I felt like we didn't even, hit the iceberg, tip the iceberg with you because there's so much you can talk about. You're so interesting and funny. I feel like we just could go on and on.
Oh gosh. Well, I'm already sweaty from just this hour. But yes, I'd be happy to come back and talk more.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for
Thank you.
joining us today.
Thank you.
Say for everybody here at
Thank-
May Interest You to Know. See ya.
Bye.